Hey, what's up guys, Mashine here, come back with a brand new video for you guys. Now this one's going to be a couple videos combined into one. I was thinking about making a bonus video, decided not to. I'd never want to spam you guys, that's not my intention. And this way I can give you a high quality, in-depth guide of what's basically been going on inside of the market. Now looking at the current market, you've probably noticed a lot has been going on. Best way to describe this, looking at my inventory graph, you can see here that obviously we have hit a peak and now we're starting on a little bit of collapse. Now this is actually really good and a really healthy market, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit more after a quick word from today's sponsor. The sponsor for today's video is MarketCSGO.com. They're a peer-to-peer CSGO marketplace. They've currently got over 100,000 daily trades, and they've got a brand new slick design to help you find those skins. They've got a couple very useful features, and it's super easy to list your skins. All you have to do is go ahead, get their market app client, which is going to prevent you from getting scammed, and then you can go ahead and list your skins very easily. And if you're looking to buy skins on the site, they've got tons of different deposit options, and if you want to take out that money you just got by selling your skins, they've also got a ton of different withdrawal options you can use. And running right now on the website, they've got an exclusive 30 knife giveaway. All you have to do to join is click that top link in the description, get started today. Now when we're speaking on the current market, the biggest thing we're first going to look at is the CSGO cases. Now about a week or two ago at this point, I released a video talking about how cases were on the increase, but why they probably weren't going to be decreasing, and that video has turned out to be 100% correct. The fact is, we've seen a lot of these older cases, even though they shot up very quickly in price, they're not going to lose anywhere close to a significant amount of value compared to some of these other cases that are a little bit on the cheaper end and potentially in the active duty. Something like this is very easy to see when we look at these esports fire indexes. Looking at the pre-2016 and even the 2016 to 2019, you can see that we still have a nice smooth trend on the upward trajectory. Obviously, it could have dropped down a little bit as you see here with the 2016-2019 one, but generally speaking, we're still on the rise, or at worst case, we're gonna stay stagnant. Whereas if we want to compare that to the newer case graph, which is still not obviously in a bad situation, and these cases are elevated and they're still gonna stay relatively elevated compared to the prices we saw way before, but you can see that the general FOMO has not been able to 100% dominate in this area. In this area, you can see we're still staying stagnant at that elevated price, which is something we expected to see. We knew that this power was not going to be able to fully take over these cases that are still dropping, and like we've mentioned a couple times, making up 99% of the total drop pool. These cases are dropping a significant amount, and the fact is there is still a ton of these dropping, more than that's being unboxed, at least at this point, or at least that was the thought. But the next thing I want to dive deeper into is the unboxing numbers that have recently come out for the month of March. Now March was the biggest unboxing month that I believe we've ever had in history, coming in at around a 40 million case, which is around $100 million for Valve coming in. Now obviously not all of that is going to Valve, some goes to the creators and so forth, but this is still a very significant amount of cases being unboxed, and it's not sustainable for a significant amount of these cases. Now something like this brings a lot of questions into play, but for me basically this is honestly the reason why I tend to avoid these active duty cases, because we're seeing a mass amount of unboxings in other areas, specifically that clutch case, one that's sitting at a relatively similar price to some of the active duty cases, still being unboxed at an active duty case rate, and yet it's not in the active duty case rotation anymore. Therefore it's in the rare pool, and therefore it's only making up about 0.04% of the total CSGO drops. This is something, or at least an area you could potentially look into. It's not this type of video, this type of video is in more of an informative video, but it's just one of the major observations, or really any of these cases that are in the rare drop pool. This is why I personally tend to prefer them over the active duty cases. And earlier we talked a little bit about these cases that we're seeing an overpeak and collapse. I do want to make it quite clear that this is happening to pretty much every case in the market. That's just because we saw such amount of FOMO coming in, and obviously that growth is just not sustainable. As much as I want to see my inventory increasing that quickly, it's just not something that's sustainable, and it's something that we really need when we talk about long-term growth of the CSGO market. And it's happened before too. If we want to look back to 2021, we can see very clearly the peak and collapse of a lot of different cases that were still somewhat expensive at that time. I mean, the breakout case, as you can see, was sitting at around $2 to $2.50, and it was one that was still affected a pretty decent amount by it. Now with everything that was going on in the market, one thing I did go ahead and do that I was been kind of suggesting to you guys all along throughout this process is to make sure you're liquidating off a small amount. If you're not too familiar with my channel, every month or so I like to give you a reminder. Basically I went ahead and I liquidated off about 3% of my total inventory, coming out to around $800-ish, and I do have one thing that's kind of on the edge, which we'll talk about in just a quick second. second. But basically, I'll go ahead and let you know what I sold. Went ahead and sold 50 Stockholm Legends capsules, a couple of the Contenders capsules, and then I went ahead and sold off an assortment of cases. This included some of the glove case, some of the Hydra case, some of the Shattered Web case, some of the Esports Winter case, and then finally a couple Sticker 2 capsules. Now, why did I choose these specific items? Well, there's a very clear reason. First of all, I have a decent amount of all of these items, relatively speaking. If we look at the Stockholm Legends, I got 600 of them still, so I'm still in a very nice position. If that capsule were to absolutely explode in price, I would still get a very nice benefit from it. But basically, I was looking at more of these higher end items that probably aren't going to be moving as much. I like to invest into cheap items, you know this, and that's why I always try and go ahead and liquidate off some of those more expensive items. Even though I could have went ahead and sold off something like the Spectrum 2 case, I still think the Spectrum 2 case is in a better position than some of these moving forward, at least in my personal opinion. And then the last thing I kind of mentioned that I'm on the edge about, but I probably will, is my Cobblestone souvenir package. I know it's unfortunate. It's something I picked up over 2 years ago at this point, or roughly 2 years, pretty much the same thing. Basically, it's just not getting the return I want. If we want to look at the prices of pretty much everything since the middle of 2021 when I bought it, everything up around 100% at least. And when we want to look at my Cobblestone package, I paid 500 cash for it. Now I could get about an $800 cash check for it. It's just not the ROI I want to receive, and honestly, I don't think the growth is going to be absolutely massive moving forward. I still like the Cobblestone souvenir package, but I would like that $800 even more at this time, and unfortunately, that's what I gotta do. And then the last thing I want to talk about is there's been an increasingly high amount of people coming out about different things that are potentially going to be in CS2. Obviously, we've got a lot of things coming from Gabe Follower about different customizables and all that, but the biggest thing I want to point out is this payment provider screenshot that he has recently come out with. Now, it appears that potentially CSGO is working on a mobile game, or I guess CS2 at this point, working on a mobile game. Biggest thing I want to throw out there is this is probably not going to be as ideal as most people think. If we want to talk about the App Store or the Google Play Store, App Store charges a 30% fee to anything that's bought through their service, and the Google Play offers a pretty similar thing. It's under 15% for the first $1 million, but obviously Valve is probably going to be generating over $1 million in a month, let alone a year. So we're going to say 30% fee there. That's going to raise your price of a key up significantly higher than the $2.50 or whatever it is converted into your currency, which is just one major thing I want to point out. This is not something I think is going to take a whole lot of impact into the overall market other than just pure investor FOMO kind of thing. It's definitely interesting, and it's definitely something that's going to benefit the game. We already have the Steam Deck as well, so it's a little bit interesting if this is even relevant at this point. Overall, not something that's deserving of its own video, but something a little bit interesting. But that's pretty much all I have. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day.